Hello to Belchertown, Massachusetts to visit a cemetery. This one's on Bay Street. And it happens to be called the Lake Vale Cemetery. There is a lake, Metacomic, very close by, and this whole little neighborhood is called the Metacomic neighborhood. All right, Lake Vale Cemetery has other names to it though. It's called a Metacomic Cemetery, also called a Pond Hill Cemetery. And it started in the year 1755. Probably as a family cemetery, then it grew into a bit of a neighborhood cemetery. Right, you're going to find a lot of people buried in the old part, but there's a modern part also. And we're driving through the modern part, and what we're going to do in the modern part is just look at some of these stones. Probably about 30 years ago they developed this section. It wasn't here until then. And so you had this quaint old cemetery in the dark, and then they built up this portion. Fine. Now we're looking at a big stone wall, very nice wall, and it's found on three sides of the cemetery. It's found, this is the west wall. There's also a north and south wall. There's no east wall because in 1954, when they built this wall up on three sides, there was already a chain link fence on either side, and it might still be there, who knows. And in 1960, this cemetery also got a new gate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera and go over that wall and show you some of the old stones. Remember, this cemetery is 1755. It should have some brownstones in it. Now, a good thing is the stones are facing towards the west, which is the side they should be facing towards. They're not facing Bay Road, which would not have been the correct side. But I don't see any footstones at this point, so someone was taking them out, unless I can find some, right? So at least tablets facing the correct direction, and that's a wonderful sign to start with. All right. Right, so the modern section does have a beautiful gate out there, but you can see the old stone wall here. It looks very old, but it's not really drastically old. All right, and a lot of the gravestones by their nature are going to be of the marble variety, because most of this cemetery is from the 1800s. So we see Electa, wife of Heman Moody, 1868-87. All right, a lot of marble. Now, but if you go towards the back right, what are we seeing? Now remember, this is the back right has, you take it from the direction of the west. If you take it from the road, it's the front to the right. Now look at the old gates put in 1960, and the wall was put in 1954. So a beautiful design. All right, so if you see a major, John Gilbert, died 1817, age 68. Ye living men, see here your end. All right, and then his wife, Mrs. Millicent, is next to him. And some more brownstones behind there. All right, these are the daughter of those two people I just mentioned. They died 16 years old and 44 years old. All right, so some very old ones starting to really wear out back here. All right, here's a slate one, and here is the chain link fence that was mentioned before. Now here's some back children ones. Okay, so we went along one side front to back. Well, what about the furthest part away from the road? What are we going to find there? Now you notice no one buried deep inside here. You can't bury on a downhill because the soil will get washed away and start to expose the coffin and knock the gravestones over. So you have a fancy right in one script one, 1833 death of Elisha Abbey. Now I think I found a headstone, and I found a footstone. So you see the footstone back there in memory of Mr. Joseph Smith Jr., who died June of 1786, 36 years old, and it has a big epitaph on there. Hear what the voice from heaven for all the pious dead. But behind him, there's a footstone. These are hard to find, but here it is for Joseph Smith Jr. All right, there should be many more of them, but there's not. Now, some of them might have worn out, some might get knocked over, and maybe knocked over, or some were just thrown out. And a lot of superintendents of cemeteries would see these old footstones and say they're getting my way of my lawnmower, and they would take them out. So here's two old ones, 1787, 1789, and a beautiful slate one of Levy Smith from 1815. Okay, now there's some off in distance. Now notice that this cemetery goes up and down these vales. You call it Lake Vale, near a lake, but vale means you have a lot of valley, and you certainly have lots of valleys in this old cemetery, dipping down and up. Okay, so here's one back here, Mr. Jonathan Warner. Jonathan Warner, with the headstone facing towards the west. All right. And now I see a footstone over here. So what's wrong with this picture? You should have the headstone pointing towards the west. The body goes back this way. The head of the person is right here. The feet of the person is right there. On Resurrection Day, they would rise their upper torso upwards and point towards the east. Now, someone took this footstone and put it in front of the headstone. Not correct. It should be at the feet of the person. So, close, but something was done to change it over. So, what happens, a lot of things fall, and the people say, oh, I don't know what the tradition is, and then they start to move it around, and they move that one. Okay, sad to say. And that might be a fallen headstone. All right, now let's go to the last of the four corners of this rectangular cemetery, Lakeville, and see what's up there. Look at the beautiful wall around. Okay, you see a headstone there. Here's a Dr. Benjamin Stibbons, born in 1769, died 1835. All right, and it's a very old one. Back here, Caddy Comfort. Mr. Nathan Parsons, all right, and there's a footstone over here. So that arrangement might be correct. It's a little close, all right, and what people did was they probably moved the stone inwards, and I'm trying to see. Okay, there was an infant daughter also listed on it, so maybe the daughter is buried there, and so it's good to be that close, but maybe not. Maybe it's an adult there. All right. Okay, and this one's 1755. Should be pointing towards the west, so someone switched it around. Right, but very old. And his footstone's right here. So this is William Hannum. His footstone points the right direction. His headstone has been taken and swiveled around. It should be pointing this way, and it's not. All right. So lots of wonderful things in here. Some movement, but otherwise nice old gravestones. And finally we find one that's correct. Samuel Hannum died 1780. At the left hand of his grave lies an infant to Mr. and Mrs. Hannum, 1771. Now we look back here, and it says Mr. Samuel Hannum. That's the way it should be. So this is a perfect arrangement. Everything is in the right direction. And so this one's preserved. You see it's about adult length in there. He was also a veteran. Okay, so this arrangement is perfect. I wish there were many more around this cemetery. All right, and this whole section here is the Hannum section. All these barrels around here are the Hannum, and at least one of them got preserved exactly the way it should be. And I see another couple of there that are great candidates. So thank you for coming to this cemetery. I'm going to end with a panoramic for you.